Thank you for checking out Tea and a Buddy on YouTube. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.
Welcome back to Tea and a Buddy podcast with me, Erica.
And me, Dominic.
And today we have a special guest with us.
Special guest.
Yes.
Our first one, actually, on this series.
Our first special guest ever in history. And it's Addison.
Ever in the history of history.
It's Addison, our niece.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Addison.
Yay.
Addison is with Adventures with AMP. They have a kids YouTube channel and they just do all kinds of
Adventures, and
challenges.
Yeah, we've done some balloon challenges. We've made a pinata. We've done a lot of fun stuff.
You try all kinds of food from around the world.
Yes, we have. Yes, we've gone hiking. Yeah, we've done a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Addison is 9 and her brother is 5. And the reason we have Addison on the show today is because we're going to be discussing school.
School. This is a school series.
This is the start of a school series, yeah.
And we're doing the elementary and primary school differences and everything like that, so...
Yeah, so we're going to talk to Addison.
First-hand report.
Yeah, so we're going to talk to Addison toward the end of the podcast. But first, we're going to discuss our experiences in elementary and primary school, which was many, many years ago.
Not so many years ago. We're quite young, actually. But yes, so we're just going to be talking about primary schools in Britain and primary schools in America. Well, elementary, I think they're called here.
Yeah, we call it elementary school. I don't know why you guys... I mean, primary makes sense. I guess elementary makes sense, too.
It starts off like with play school, which you kind of call kindergarten. And I think kindergarten is kind of like involved in primary school. Once you like...
Is play school kindergarten? Because we have preschool over here. I would have thought preschool was the same thing as play school.
Preschool, I guess, is the same as play school, and kindergarten is the same as year 1, is what they call it in Britain.
Okay.
Year 1, yeah.
Well, we have first grade, so...
First grade.
That's different from kindergarten.
How old are you when you get to first grade?
So in preschool, you're 4. I think they do start school like, sometimes they call it wee school.
Wee school?
Yeah, which is like for 3-year-olds. Preschool's like usually 4-year-olds. Kindergarten is 5-year-olds. First grade 6.
I was about 5 when I started.
And that was play school?
My primary school. No, that was Cockington. That was primary school.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember my teacher... Miss Hunt, her name was.
Oh, yeah.
And I had her up until I was like year, and then there was, I was about 6, and then I changed to another class, which I guess was year 2. I mean, it's quite a long time ago now to remember. Yeah. This was around 1990, 1991.
Yeah.
So
what?
Almost 30 years ago.
So where does primary school stop? What age do you leave primary school in Britain?
You are 10. You're 10 going on 11.
Okay.
So you start secondary at 11.
Okay, so...
About 16, 17, 18.
So yeah, so when I was in elementary school, the elementary school that I went to did not have 5th grade in it. 5th grade is when you're 10, so it's the same
Yeah, year
age.
5. We went up to year 6. I remember my last year with Mrs. Thompson, her name was, and she was, that was year 6. And I think it was, we called it yellow class because all the doors in Cockington were painted a colour. So, I was in like red class, then there was purple class, then there was green class, and
that's funny. When I started elementary school, they were like, I can't remember what exactly they were, but it was the same kind of thing. And I was in the gumball class. I remember there was a gumball machine on the door, and I was like, "Oh yay! It looked so colorful." And we had to wear these little like laminated gumball machine things around our
Yeah.
necks, so that I guess if we had to go to the bathroom or something, then they knew which class we were in. If we couldn't remember where to go or whatever when we started this school, they'd be like, "Oh, they just take us back to the gumball class," you know?
Yeah, that's pretty much kind of how it was. I don't know if they still do it. I mean, Cockington's still going, but I don't know how much it's changed. I mean, obviously it has. But I remember in my primary school, I mean, I've mentioned this before, we had a swimming pool on the premises.
Oh yeah, isn't that lucky, Addison?
I thought that was what they had all. Well, you know, when I grew up, I thought, you know, we were kind of particularly lucky in Britain to have it. But I thought, you know,
You thought just all elementary schools have swimming pools?
yeah, I thought that for a while, and then someone said, no, we never had it. Because, well, I went to another elementary school because we moved around a bit. I went to another primary school in Scotland, and they definitely didn't have a thing, you know. They didn't have a swimming pool, and they barely had anything, really. It was just one kind of weirdly shaped building.
So do you think it had to do with the fact that you were more south in the country?
Yeah.
Or it was just a richer school?
It was a richer school. It was pretty well-to-do. I remember the headmaster, Mr. Dunnage. He was pretty well-to-do. And, you know, everybody had a bit more, like, you know, it was a bit more money.
Because I always remember my mom telling me that, because they moved around a bit when she was a kid too. And she didn't have a swimming pool when she lived in San Antonio here in Texas, but they moved to Arizona at one point, and she had a swimming pool in her elementary school when she lived in Arizona. And I always thought, I was always so jealous of that. I was like, can you imagine, Addison, going swimming on PE or whatever? Like, you wouldn't.
I would skip I would probably skip having like recess or something to be swimming in the pool.
You wouldn't mind going to PE if your PE had a swimming pool, right?
I would want PE to be my everyday special.
I'm not actually sure PE was the actual class that we did swimming in. I think it was just swimming class. I seem to remember it would be just, you know, say like I was in yellow class with Mrs. Thompson, and it would just be like, okay, today we're doing swimming. Have you brought your swimming trunks? I can't remember it being PE.
It was just like part of the school day. It was
like a part of the school day. You got to do swimming. It was like a swimming lesson, and everybody would just like go and put their trunks on.
So that's where you learned to
had to
school
wear
then at
swimming
school.
caps.
That's where you learned to swim then at school.
Yeah, and I took part in like swimming galas, they were called, and I got
Swimming galas? What does that mean?
swimming gala where everybody would, you know, your parents would supposed to show up and watch you like swim like 5 meters.
Oh,
10
like
meters.
we call it a swim meet.
Well,
We
swimming gala it was called in.
A gala makes me think of like, I don't know, a ball or like a big fancy party.
I got like 5 or something certificate. I don't know where they went. I mean, they got lost in various moves and stuff, but you know, I displayed on the wall and stuff, and I'd just to certify Dominic Williams has completed 5 minutes of swimming, 10, 15, whatever, you know. And it was from Cockington, you know, so it was just kind of like that kind of thing.
That's really cool.
So I was effectively learned to swim at school, whereas like people just learn to swim when their parents do it in life, you know.
Yeah.
It was a requirement of every pupil going to Cockington. They had to swim. I mean, I can't remember anyone who didn't really know how to swim.
Yeah.
Who was afraid of the water or anything like that. But
right.
But yeah.
Okay, so we touched on the fact that you said British primary, and British primary school ends at 5th grade, which in Britain you guys call it years.
6th grade,
right?
I guess, because then it starts at year 7.
Year 1, year 2, whereas we say 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. And as I said, when I was in elementary school, my elementary school ended at 4th grade, but then we moved to Austin. And I don't know how it is now. We're up in the Texas Panhandle where I used to live. But
schooling and stuff has changed in Britain as well. I mean,
but when we moved to Austin, most elementary schools had 5th grade in them. So that was the last year you were in elementary school, and then you would start middle school in 6th grade.
Yeah.
So that's sort of similar. I don't know what's another difference, do you think, between American and British elementary school?
Obviously, like the stuff you're taught, really. I mean, I'm guessing. I mean, speaking about geography, we were talking about this the other day, geography and stuff like that. I don't really remember learning about geography too much. History, we did. I remember we did like the Victorian Day and stuff like that. That was in year 5, year 6. And someone came in, and an actress came in and pretended to be a Victorian school mom for a day. Mm-hmm. And we had to wear like Victorian type clothes, and it was like a Victorian day, and she would get on to us like as if we were Victorian children, you know.
Yeah.
I remember I was terrified that day because, people were like, oh, she's going to bring a cane. We're going to get caned. And I was like, can they still do that, But no, it didn't get caned. Nobody got caned.
I just thought of one difference, and that is uniforms. And
uniforms is another difference.
In most public schools in Britain, that's a different topic. In most public schools in Britain,
yes,
and this is public in the American sense because I know
state schools.
I know you guys. Public is something different. It's very confusing, you guys.
Yeah. Terms and everything, yeah.
Because in Britain, public schools is actually
like a private school. Yeah, it's like
why it's called public school, I don't know, but
a public school, yeah, because a public school rather than a state school is what really, or comprehensive or whatever. Comprehensive is like a secondary school anyway. So,
I
think everybody kind of goes to primary school. Like Cockington, for instance, was quite well to do. A lot of people thought, oh, I'm going to go off and do grammar school after that. There was a lot of kids, a lot of my friends thought, oh, I'm going to take the 11 plus. There's another difference, I think, to over here. 11 plus to get into grammar school. I don't know if they've abolished that now, but when I was a kid, that was a thing. I don't think I sat it, actually. I might have done, but I can't remember. I failed it anyway because I didn't get into grammar school. I didn't get the chance to go, so
it sounds to me like grammar school is what over here we call magnet schools.
Kind of, yes.
And it's sort of for kids who have higher grades, basically.
Higher grades, yeah, and they can, it's not exactly a public school, but it's like...
Classes are a bit harder.
Classes are a bit harder, discipline's a little bit harder, they have to wear smart uniforms and stuff. I remember...
Well, we don't have... Just hold that thought really quickly because...
Hold that thought.
Yeah, because we started talking about uniforms. We, in America, in public schools, we don't have to wear uniforms. I mean, we have dress codes. So, like, girls can't have really super short... Well, I say girls. Kids can't have really super short shorts. They have to be a certain length most of the time. Girls can't wear like spaghetti straps. You can't wear certain shirts that say like offensive things or things like that. But that's about it. I mean, some schools have a few extra rules than other schools, but for the most part, you can wear whatever you want if you go to a public school in America. It would be more like private schools and Catholic schools that have uniforms over here. Addison, what do you think you would like to have a school that made you wear uniforms where everybody kind of wore the same thing? And
not really, because like a lot of people, like if you get a new shirt or like new shorts and you want to go like show your friends, you can't because you have to wear the uniform.
But that's the point of uniforms. It's to make everybody the same so that nobody looks more rich than anybody else and everybody's kind of equal and nobody can sort of be ugly to other kids about
their
having
clothes.
More money or
it was still funnily enough, that was still a thing though. If it would depend on how rich you were or poor you were when you went to school, depending on how good your uniform looked. It could be a little bit shabby, it could be nicely turned out,
So you didn't have specific things, you just had like you had to wear a white shirt?
No, we had a specific green jumper. Well, I'm just going back to primary school now because I wore a uniform in school all my school life, so it was a green jumper and...
A jumper in America is a sweater. By the way.
With a tie, with like a stripy tie and a like dress shirt and black trousers or grey trousers and black shoes. And
So what does that remind you of? Does it sound like Harry Potter to you?
Sort of.
It doesn't really show up as green there, but...
We're looking at a school picture of Dominic when he was about... I guess a little bit younger than Addison,
A
probably.
little bit younger, about 4 or 5.
6 or 7, I would have said.
That does remind me of Harry Potter because they have to wear the sweater over a white shirt, like dress shirt and a tie.
And the crest on the shirt kind of looks like Gryffindor or
Yes.
Ravenclaw or
Or
something.
And the tie kind of looks like a Gryffindor tie, except for it has green in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I remember having debates in school because we learned about other schools that had to wear uniforms and stuff. And it was like, okay, pick a side, in debate class. I'm kind of getting ahead going into like middle school or high school now, but pick a side. Would you like to have school uniforms or not? And of course, when you're a kid, you don't really,
want to wear a
you don't want to wear a
kids
uniform.
in school never really wanted to wear a uniform.
But now that I'm an adult, I can really see the benefit of a uniform.
It was a representation of the school.
You're not distracted by what everybody else has on. You're not like looking, as a girl, you're not looking at the other girls' outfits like, oh, that's really cute. I wish I had that. Oh, I'm so jealous or anything like that,
Yeah, because if you're wearing all the same thing, it's like you're wearing the same thing. You can't really be like, oh, that's so much cuter. I wish I had that. Like, you can't really...
Or make fun of someone for what they have on.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned PE earlier.
Yeah.
So obviously in Britain, you still have PE, but what kinds of stuff did you do in PE?
I seem to remember when I was in school, it was just kind of like soccer, or football as we call it. Rounders, which is kind of like a version of baseball.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like softball, really, I think, as I remember. Cricket was one thing that...
Cricket.
That's a bug.
Cricket was another one. I don't remember playing rugby so much in England, but as I moved up, I do remember playing rugby in Wales, so...
What's rugby?
Rugby is kind of like American football, but without padding. The same shaped ball and everything, but it's...
more of a chance of you breaking something.
More of a chance, but funnily enough, I never heard of that. I mean, people have like injuries and stuff, but I never really heard of anybody like, getting concussion or anything like that, in that. And it's strange because you hear it all the time in like American football, even with all the padding and the helmet and everything. Yeah. But maybe it goes on. I really don't know. But, they have gum shields and they have like their heads taped. I mean, it's a roughish game.
So did you guys...
I played it. It was like scrumming and scrummage and stuff like that, and diving and...
So did you guys have a track?
Yeah, we had a track. We had to do like...
Because in America, we'll have like a football field, which I guess is similar to a rugby field or soccer,
it's sort of the same thing. Well, the rugby posts kind of look like American football posts,
and then the track goes around the outside of that.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't sure if you guys don't have American football, then would you have a track, or where would the track be?
Not in any primary school I had. I mean, we just had huge fields. It was just fields. There was no like track so much.
Oh yeah.
In primary school,
run through the field.
Just go run through the field, or cross country was another thing we used to do in PE, which was like running. Yeah. They'd do like a path or a track throughout like the wilderness. And you'd have to negotiate all these crazy things, jumping over things. It was kind of like an assault course, really. Yeah. But without too much hassle. But you were just kind of jogging and stuff. I remember doing that. That's later on, though. That was later on in secondary school.
So it sounds to me like basically you guys did all the same things that we do in PE. Mm-hmm. Except I can remember... like if it was not weather to go outside, we would go into the cafegimatorium.
Yeah, we do that. We had a gym which actually doubled as the assembly hall, and it had this. This is in Cockington now, and if anyone's listening who went to Cockington in the late 80s, early 90s, will remember the carpet in that place. It was a tiny gym, and we'd hold like there'd be like a little makeshift stage there where you could like put on.
You had wait a minute. Sorry, it just like registered to me that you just said you had carpet in your gym.
It was like really like, it wasn't carpet like this. It was carpet like you could light a match on it.
Oh,
And you know, if you didn't have, you know, I used to love it when they put the mats down, you know, because then, you know, if you were running around with your plimsolls on, because we even had a uniform for PE. It was this yellow shirt and black shorts and plimsolls with the thing, you know. It was like one of those type things. It was like, it very much fancied itself as a.
I kind of think we had in middle. I kind of think in middle school we had a uniform for PE that we had to change into.
This yellow kind of shirt, yeah.
I remember reading some books saying, like, of school books, not like school books, not like math, science, and that books, like of older schools where kids did have to change into a different uniform and they would have to practice in it. And then, did you guys also have showers?
No, we didn't actually. Not in primary school. I don't remember showering.
I think that's middle school.
We did have them in the pool, but we never in the like the pool area. I seem to remember there was a shower there, but not for like after PE. It was just kind of like if you were sweaty, that was it for you.
Yeah. I mean, little kids are sweaty anyway.
Well, if you're sweaty, just go jump in the pool.
Our pool had because of the climate, our pool had a dome over it, so you could swim. It was like an indoor pool.
So like kind of like a greenhouse.
Yeah, kind of like a
dome.
Greenhouse. Yeah.
Addison's very fixated with the pool, as you can all tell.
I don't even know if they still have it.
I'll
have to look it up.
Let us know on Twitter or on Facebook if you're in America or if you're somewhere in Britain, or actually if you're anywhere in the world. Let us. Yeah. Let us know if you had a pool in your elementary school now, because I know sometimes middle schools and high schools have things that elementary schools don't have, but I think it's really interesting, especially that you had one in elementary school, because a lot of elementary school kids don't know how to swim even. So, let us know, tweet us and let us know if you had a pool in the elementary school that you went, or primary school that you went to.
Day trips was another thing. I mean, school
Field
trips.
Yeah.
School trips. I mean, they probably kind of differed, I mean, considerably over here. I mean, we usually go to this, like, place where they'd show us how people in the factories would work back in the Victorian times, you know?
Yeah.
They go to, like, a working, like, museum mill, where it would be like a cotton mill or something. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I remember the people giving the tours, like, oh, it was boys your age were under there, and they were getting caught in the machine and stuff, and sliced to bits. Yeah. And, you know, really harrowing stuff, you know, really to scare you. Yeah. And it's just like they'd be showing you, and they'd show you how.
Oh, you better straighten up, or, you know.
So you better straighten up, or we put you in there. Because, you know, if someone was, like, larking about, you know, messing about, you know, as usually there are, you know. It was just usually field trips, like historic kind of like things, you know. It's like, oh, we're going out to Bygones, which was like this place in Torquay that was a Victorian street, you know, very obsessed with that era in Britain.
I went to elementary school in a really small town, so our field trips were not that exciting. I remember we went to like the town museum, and like we would go to the fire station and things like that in elementary school, but I don't really remember.
We went there once. I think we went to the fire station once, and that was about it. I remember, you know.
What about castles? Did you go to castles as a kid?
I think we did, yeah. I saw enough of them. Yeah. As it were, anyway, because so they became uninteresting, you know, for them. You know, it's just, oh, we're going to take a trip to Leeds. Usually, I mean, well, we went to Leeds Castle. Yeah. It was a bunch of primary school kids that got let loose in the maze, because we got lost in the maze. Yeah. And we were just like, oh, I think we were the only ones kind of in there. Yeah. But then all we heard was these kids going, whoa, running out. They were running past. And then someone came in and was like, oh, sorry, I didn't know anyone was in here. We just let them loose, you know. They got to flush us out. That's what it was.
Yes, and then someone totally ruined, and one of the kids totally ruined it. It was just like, oh, just put your right hand on the wall and follow
they
it.
They did it.
Oh.
Because
I was like, no, I want to figure it out on my own.
the teacher or whoever it was did it because
She was telling them, I guess?
no, it was a guy, as I remember. The guy was like, oh, keep right hand, and then you'll find out, just keep your right hand on the wall, because couple of kids probably panicked and figured out, where's the center? I can't get to the center. So.
For anybody listening in Britain that maybe has no idea what I was talking about when I say cafegimatorium. Basically, in elementary school here, because I don't know why they do it actually, just to save on space, I guess. But the cafeteria is also the gym and the auditorium. So
yes,
yeah.
I mean that was sort of ours was just like a gymatorium because our cafeteria was separate place, within the school. But in another elementary school I went to. Up in Scotland, that one was a cafegimatorium. Yeah, that was where we had plays there. We did so many plays in.
Yeah, that's funny. That's something else we should talk about really quickly before we talk to Addison about what school's like today. In America, when I was in school, we always started the school day with the Pledge of Allegiance. So we would put our hand over our heart and do the I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I can still remember it because I did it, I think, every day of elementary school. I know you guys don't have anything like that, but I was surprised to hear when you and I have talked about this before that you guys would say a prayer or you'd sing kind of church songs.
It was Christian themed. Yeah, it was Christian themed. Our assemblies were, and it would usually be. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. Religious hymns, basically.
Which I think is really interesting considering Britain is a fairly secular kind of country.
It's a fairly secular kind of country, and it's just kind of like you go. There's over here. There's like the separation of church and state and all that and everything.
Yeah.
Well, in school, it's like if you talk to any adult in Britain, they'll just be like, "Oh, I didn't do that. I haven't done that since school." So there is kind of like some sort of like state school indoctrination just to keep the church happy, I guess. Just to keep them like, oh yeah, there's a little bit of indoctrination there or whatever, and it's just kind of like, kids are just kids,
Yeah.
bored of all this, got the whole wide world in his hands and all that kind of stuff, so.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe we've rambled on. We've rambled on a bit, so it's probably time to talk to Addison now and find out.
Hand you over to Addison.
Yeah, well, let's find out what somebody who is still in elementary school has to say about elementary school.
She always will be. She's never going to leave elementary. She's made a pact today.
I wish we had a little British child here also that we could okay, now you tell us what school in Britain is like now.
And he'll probably say, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world.
Okay, so Addison is in 4th grade.
Yes.
So your school goes up to 5th grade, right?
Yes.
So so next year will be your last year in elementary school.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us first of all, what a school day is like for you. When you get to school, then what?
Once we get to school, we usually go straight to the classroom, and then we're just reading, waiting for the rest of our class to get there and working on stuff, and then once everybody gets there, of course, we do lunch count, hang up our backpacks, do all that
lunch
stuff.
Count, that's going to be just take attendance, I guess. That's what we would have called it.
Yeah, attendance is
roll call.
Registry, we used to call it.
Registry. So, Addison, but you guys don't do the Pledge of Allegiance anymore?
Yes, we usually do the Pledge of Allegiance, and
that's interesting. I didn't realize they still do it in school.
They make this, I don't know if every school does it, but it's called attendance, where they make a video. The upper grades, 5th grade helps make them. They go around filming just little kids and stuff and little sayings, and that's when we do the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's the weather and
Oh, what? So you have a
what
television
lunch.
in the classroom?
It's a projector. They just project it onto.
Checked it onto a wall. Yeah, I mean, we did that in assemblies and stuff like that. We had the lyrics of whatever hymn we were singing
Yeah.
projected, and someone at a piano.
We also do like concerts, like singing concerts and stuff. Like we do one on Veterans Day, and at assemblies, you were talking about how you guys sing a song. We also do that. Like they say, if it's been your birthday since the last time we've seen you, like stand up, and we sing like a little birthday song for everybody.
At your
I
assemblies?
remember that happening in our school. Remember people being told to stand up when they'd been naughty in assembly.
I was just going to ask her that. I was going to ask her, and how many times have you been spanked by the principal? But the answer to that is
No.
none. They don't do that, right?
No. So what you basically do if you get sent to the principal's office, they call your parents. Your parents have to come up, and it's like a conference. And depending on what you did, you have to stay in the principal's office.
Because when I was in school, this is aging me now, dating me. When I was in elementary school, we still had spankings. And
Not
Wow.
in mine.
yeah, so I never got one because if you can see my halo right now. But I remember you could hear you could hear a door open, you could hear a clack 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 of our principal was a woman. You could hear her heels on the
So it was
hallway.
only done by the principal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, so
I
yeah.
thought it would be.
I think it was the principal, yeah.
It was just getting phased out, and it was just, only the principal can do this.
And then you could hear whap, and then you'd hear the kids scream, and then everybody in my class would like crack up, laugh, yeah. But they ended that like by the time I was finished with elementary school. So
No, in primary school there was no, I think corporal punishment had been ended in the 60s or the 70s or something. It had gone.
Britain's so much more advanced.
But it had gone, but there was still some who wanted to keep it going.
Yeah.
Still wanted it, believed it was going to come back at some time.
Yeah.
Remember in secondary school, a teacher, my geography teacher, he really wanted it to come back with the class we had. I don't blame him now looking back at it, but it's just like...
So he's kind of like Filch, how Filch wants to hang kids in the
little bit like
basement by their
Filch,
ankles.
Filch is from Harry Potter. It's a Harry Potter reference, by the way.
Filch was very, he was very much like Filch.
So then you do your lessons, your whatever you're working on in school,
Yes.
and then what do you do? Like, how does the school day end?
We usually do science and that stuff. Like science, and I think that's all that we do. And social studies we do on Fridays.
You guys don't
At
have.
the end of the
You
school,
guys
and
don't have
dismissal. Then.
dismissal. Okay,
Yeah.
what is dismissal?
So it's where in 4th grade they have changed it now instead of the whole class walking out and then splitting up. Now we have to 4th grade goes to different classes. And so my classroom's the car rider room, and then another room's the daycare, YMCA, Walker, bus.
They just split you up according to where you're going.
Yes. And then whenever we leave, we have to check with whatever teacher.
Do you have announcements? I remember there would be announcements.
Yes, that's what I meant. Announcements, the videos. Announcements.
Oh,
Yeah.
You said attendance, you meant announcements.
Yeah.
It's kind of making me feel a little bit not so old listening to her talk because things haven't really changed all that much, it doesn't sound like.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I don't know, maybe it differs school to school, but yeah, I don't know what that says about America. It's like maybe we haven't modernized as much as we probably could in our school systems, but
it's basic curriculum and stuff, really.
yeah. So let us know in our Facebook group. Let's just get a discussion going and let us know what your school was like. Was your school completely different from everything the three of us have mentioned in this podcast.
I mean, subjects like maths, English, history, and all that.
History, to us, we call it social studies.
Oh, yeah.
But the weird thing is when you're in 3rd grade, we do a STAR test, and that's like just to test if the teachers have teached you right. But it's
if they've teached you right, huh?
Taught you right. But it's like math and reading. And then once you get in 4th grade, it's math, reading, writing, and science.
Okay.
And then once you get in 5th grade, I guess social studies.
She was all worried. She's reading the Harry Potter books right now, so she was all worried about these tests she was going to have to take, and I kept calling them her OWLs. But yeah, when I was in school, we had to. I don't remember having to take tests in elementary school.
I vaguely remember it.
The TAAS test is what
I can't
it
remember
was.
what they were
TAAS. I can't remember what it stood for, but
Did you guys have short little like papers where they were testing you, like it was like math problems, like division,
all that kind of stuff,
and spelling,
spellings and maths.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Also, what we would do in assemblies is you would get a buzzing bee, so like the principal would have a list of names, and the teacher would write that. If you've been like a great student, you haven't gotten in trouble or anything, you would be like, she would call your name. If it's your name, you'd stand up, and then you would go to the library, like all of you guys would get a picture together, and then you got like a free...
And you've gotten that before, haven't you?
Every year.
I think that whole story was just to let everybody know that she's gotten that little award every year.
Yeah, you'd have like awards for attendance and stuff. Yeah. Turning up and stuff. Yeah, it's funny because, you know, like the things I remember from like primary school are the history about the Tudors and the Stuarts. You know, for like English history.
God, in primary school?
Yeah. And, you know, like the Victorian era is usually about the royal line, you know, the monarchy. But yeah, I do remember the Victorian kind of thing. That was kind of like a week long. That was. It was kind of like, because I remember we made gruel, you know, like, cause this is like the Oliver Twist in the workhouses and stuff like that. We made gruel, and I remember we all had to like taste it, or we got this kid Lloyd. I remember this kid. Everybody was gathered around the table because he helped make it. He said, "Come on, Lloyd, you got to taste it," like that. And he was just like, he didn't want to taste it because, you know, gruel is disgusting. It looks like porridge and oatmeal or whatever. And he took a little tiny little thing, and he just kind of went like that, you know, kind of like ugh. And we all cracked up at that. So
yeah.
So yeah,
we've gone like way over our normal,
way over budget,
way over our
time.
normal time limit. So I think we probably need to end it here. But it feels like we could have probably made 2 podcasts out of the primary school. But
yeah.
Anyway, we want to thank Addison. Is there anything you want them to do for you, since you're a guest, so you get to plug anything you want to?
Make sure to go check out Adventures with AMP. Check out our videos.
It's their YouTube channel, yeah. Yes. They're trying to reach their goal of 1,000 subscribers. They're almost there.
Me and my brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so be sure and check out Adventures with AMP. I think
my aunt and uncle help make the videos.
Yeah.
Whoever they are.
Whoever they are, yeah. We film and edit their videos for them and do them.
Erica films, Dominic edits.
Yep, do all the things.
We'll
be back with another episode of this series. So.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, all of that kind of stuff. And we'll talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.